Victim coming out, victim coming out.
The fireground is dynamic. Priorities can change by the second. This series is about our first priority, life priority. We'll hear from the firefighters that have made a grab in live fire conditions, the decisions they made and the lessons they learned. Listen as they tell you about their experience, learn from their mistakes and their successes. Expect fire and expect victims. Expect the unexpected and plan accordingly. This is Life Priority.
My name is Luke Sweeters. I'm a firefighter assigned to Truck 106 on C shift. The day of the fire and the rescue, I was on callback, assigned to Engine 106 on A shift. We were shopping in Safeway when my pulse point went off. Looked down, it was in 105's first in, but we were kind of right on the border of 105 and our first in.
I noticed the garage was on the Alpha Bravo side of the house, which was the direction the wind was coming from. That was the windward side. And wind was driving the garage fire throughout the rest of the house, basically from Bravo to Delta side. As I gave my arrival report, I could see Engine 106 coming towards us from the opposite direction of the street. It reported that we had a working garage fire with heavy smoke throughout the house. We initiated fire attack. As I came off the rig, I immediately went to the Alpha Delta corner of the house where bystanders were breaking out a window.
Just broke a window, trying to get an old man out of here.
That window now had pressurized brown smoke coming out of it, and they were yelling that there was an elderly man in that window. Smoke conditions out the front door were also pressurized smoke down to probably chest high at that point. I went to the Delta side of the house to do a partial lap and see if there's another egress. There was another window, but they had broken that one out too. So both the leeward side windows of this bedroom had pressurized smoke coming out of it with the victim inside that window.
So our engine arrived first, 105, pulled the nozzle to the front door. We were right behind our engine, so I attached us to fire attack.
So I tell Captain Mike Lanier, I'm hopping off, pulling a second line and helping probably bump that fire attack line.
I got on the radio to report to command that we had a rescue and we were going to do VES. That's when Captain Lanier from Engine 106 came up and said, "Hey, I'm command, let's face-to-face this. What do you need?" And I said, "I need 2 guys to VES that window."
And on the way in, we heard reports of possibly someone still inside, but it wasn't 100% to be a known rescue. So as I'm walking up, approaching from the Alpha Delta side of the structure, man standing by one of the open windows on the Alpha side, and he tells me there's someone in this room. I just heard them, there's someone in this room. He was very adamant that he knew that there was someone in that room. So I turned to the Engine 105 captain, which was Captain Pittman. We had a quick conversation like, yep, I'm going in. He was aware of what actions I was going to be taking. So I poked my head in thinking I could squeeze in through the open window. It was a smaller bedroom window. Couldn't make it. Didn't have a tool on me, unfortunately. I was still kind of getting dressed as we were getting up on scene. So that was one thing I did forget. But right at that time, Danny Kim off of Medic 105 comes running up.
And Luke Sweeters looked like he was masking up, about to dive in through this window. So I attached with him. I told Lanier, Captain Lanier, who was taking command, like, hey, I'll hop in with him. I'll be his second.
We use his Halligan. We take the top half of the window and the sash, clear it, tell him I'm going in, and hop in head first. Zero visibility when I got inside. Not too much heat. So I locate the door, and as I'm about to check the hallway real quick before I shut the bedroom door, I hear a moan off to my right-hand side. And so I shut the bedroom door, go to where I heard that moan, and locate the victim. I go back towards the window, probably halfway across the room, yell at Danny to give me some assistance inside, and that we have a victim.
So at that point, he requested me to hop in. I hopped in with him, located the victim, and we basically did a sit pick. I got behind the victim, got under his arms.
Danny's behind him. He was leaning up against a wall between the end of a bed and a dresser underneath another bedroom window. So we sit pick him. He's pretty light, people banging on the inside of the window, letting us know, come here, come here, come here. So that was a good feeling, knowing that people were on the outside waiting to receive the victim when we were ready. Got him on the windowsill, handed him off to the crew waiting outside. Danny hopped out, and then I hopped out. We took him over to the gurney and then into the back of the ambulance. At that point, he wasn't breathing. So we were doing CPR on the way to the hospital for a little while, did some other ALS interventions. On the way to the hospital, he opened his eyes, was looking around, and dropped him off at UC Davis. From what I heard from firefighter Kim is that he is doing well, walked out of the hospital. Some takeaways from that is to make sure I have a tool next time. That instant kind of panic that sets in once I realized I couldn't fit through that window, and I didn't have my axe on me, which I usually have on me. But thankfully, Danny was right there with his Halligan, so we got lucky, kind of.
It was an exhilarating experience, absolutely. First grab ever, and this is what we train for. Being part of the burn cadre, I felt very comfortable being in that position at the window. Smoke conditions, low visibility. Instinctually, I just started grabbing things from the window and started pulling it out, just because it was like small little wardrobes or stuff that got in the way. That I thought, okay, if I do locate a victim, which we pretty much will, I want to make my egress route as easy as possible. So I started grabbing stuff, chucking it out the window, trying to make stuff cleared out. While I was in that moment of grabbing the victim, we had some difficulties. He was pretty much unconscious, apneic. He wasn't any help for us. So when I went to go sit pick him, I had to readjust him a couple of times, which kind of delayed getting him out. So a thought that did cross the back of my head was, well, if we had a 14 roof ladder that was right off the engine on the front lawn, staged, we could easily drop that in, put him on there, pull him out, or at least have a chainsaw to convert a window into a door if we did locate a relatively heavy set person. So for me, that was the lesson learned of, okay, have that initial plan A, which is get the victim out, whatever it means. And if that doesn't work because you come across something that's different, have a plan B and plan C, but express that. Tell somebody, hey, grab this and have this stage ready. I think that's a big takeaway for me on that fire is, sure, you can think about it all you want. If you don't say that out and have that, express that thoughts to anybody else, nobody else is gonna know.
Hearing those guys on the outside of the house, hitting the window and everything, letting us know that they were there, that was really good too. Gave us a sense of like, okay, cavalry's here. We got more guys to funnel into the correct positions. That was truck 106, team 2, that was doing that, I believe. And they had brought a saw with them to that window in case it was a larger person or we couldn't get them out that window. They were going to turn it into a door for us. The reason why they didn't take it right away, there was a decorative stone on the front of the house that they weren't going to be able to get through with the chainsaw.
Just keep training, doing what we're doing. Obviously, we're doing stuff right with all the fires and grabs that we've had. I feel like over this past year, we've had a ton. And that's at least 9 in a year. Perfect. So it happens. You can't expect to go to these fires and not expect people to be there. So keep up with what we're doing now. I feel like we do a good job at Metro Fire in training people to be good firemen, firewomen. So keep that training up. It's a skill that's perishable. It's a skill that goes away. And if you don't practice it, it's going to be you, your partner, or a victim's life at risk. It's that simple. This isn't a job where you can just say you're good at it and not train, and not drill, and not study. It's a continuous process for the rest of your career. And when you get to the point where you feel like you're done, it's time to retire and pass that on to somebody else. Give that back to somebody who don't have that experience, who don't get to see that all the time. And it's the best part of our job. It's what we signed an oath for. It's what we basically said we're going to sacrifice ourselves for.
I was calling for him when I hopped in the window. I was calling out, and then when I heard him moan, Just kind of luck. You know, that was probably his last breath he took before he went unconscious. Come to find out, he was deaf. So me calling out, you know, he wasn't able to respond to me or anything because he was deaf. So it was unfortunate, but I also got pretty lucky that I was able to hear him randomly kind of make that moaning or that gasping sound that I heard.
My probie grabbed the gurney with the flat and brought it along with him, which in hindsight, he made the right call. I told him to just grab the flat and meet me up at the front side. So I was hoping to have him there, but he took the time to bring the gurney along with him, which allowed us to do compressions between the time he got out all the way to the back of the ambulance. If we just had a flat there, that would not have been possible. Regardless of whether he needed it or not, that option was there. From now on, that's going to be part of what I do, especially working off the medic, is making sure I have at least those two minimum to give me that option. And I should have stayed back a little bit just to help him get that gurney along. I didn't do that, which kind of delayed him along the way.
I was going to check that hallway, but as soon as I heard him moan, I just shut it right away, try to eliminate the amount of smoke. So I was like, okay, here's our victim right here. Hindsight, you know, I probably could have at least made a sweep of that hallway real quick before closing the door, just in case there were two victims, and buy us a little bit more time.
For the newer guys, if you're not part of the burn cadre, sign up. I think it's a great opportunity. From my personal experience, I felt very comfortable in that low-vis, no-vis setting, even with heat, because I've just done it so many times inside that burn box. I felt extremely comfortable. I mean, I definitely amped because there was a victim, but I think it did play a huge role in how I acted and what I was thinking and the communication I had with Sweeters and what we were doing inside and what we were doing outside. So be part of something. Doesn't have to be the burn cadre. Be part of something. As long as it helps you better as a firefighter or a paramedic or something. This job has a lot of opportunities. You could do so many other things on top of it. I say get involved in something you're passionate about.
Fire service is about tradition. One of our traditions is about passing on our experiences and our lessons learned. When we do this, the story doesn't focus on the individual, but the team and the outcome. These lessons are shared so that you can better serve the public and your fellow firefighters. If you have a rescue and you're hesitant to tell your story, remember, the lessons you share may help save someone else's life or your own. Share your story by contacting us at lifepriority@metrofire.ca.gov.